I was in two different institutions, actually 12 when I got admitted there, and then it was like I spent my 13th and 14th birthday there. I came to the conclusion that everybody has their own agenda. My mom had her own agenda. I don't know exactly what that was, but my agenda was to make it out on top.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Tuesday, November 29th. I hope you're having a wonderful day. It's not every day that we get to hear from someone that grew up on reality television and get their side of the story after a very public story of that child or that teen sort of disappearing from the limelight with not much explanation from the family. And that's exactly what happened yesterday when Collin Gosselin sat down with Entertainment Tonight to share his experience after his mother had sent him away for a couple years, and how after he got out, he has not spoken to his mother, Kate Gosselin, in 5 years. Colin is 18 years old. He's in his senior year of high school, and he said he is working full time. He also hopes to join the Marines. The interview, which is the first time Colin has spoken publicly about the situation, is kind of jaw-dropping and also just very, in my opinion, sad, and a sad reality of children that grow up on reality television. A lot of questions were asked about Colin's relationship with his siblings, with his mother, and how he's doing today. And there was some questions left unanswered, but more importantly, the way that he's been portrayed publicly by his mother doesn't seem to match who Colin is today. So let's dive into this new interview of Collin Gosselin breaks his silence on his estrangement with mom, Kate Gosselin. And this would be from the show, if you remember, John and Kate +8, which was on for years and years and years following the Sextuplets and twins of John and Kate Gosselin, and then their subsequent divorce, and it's just been a mess ever since. Before we dive into the topic, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing by clicking on the subscribe button. We're getting super close to 300,000 subscribers, which is our goal by the end of this year. And make sure to leave a comment if you have something to say, and click the bell if you'd like to get notifications of any time new content loads. Let's dive into the topic. Kate Gosselin's parenting has been a topic of conversation on the internet ever since she sort of, along with her husband, broke the internet, or broke the reality television with her family's portrayal on TLC of her having sextuplets, raising sextuplets, and what that was like for the family. Viewers got to get to know the tiny little tots when they were little, and followed them all the way up until 2019 when Kate did her final check-in, where they went and toured colleges with Maddie and Kara. Missing from this event was Collin Gosselin. So Colin has been this, I don't know, enigma that's been a part of the internet as far as questioning what happened to Colin, where is Colin okay? In 2019, John came out and spoke publicly and basically said that Colin is fine now, and that John had gotten him from a facility that Kate had placed him in, where he had been for over 2 years. According to John, Kate had only seen Colin a few times during that entire time, and by the time that John had to go and get him, they had to go through like therapy for reunification because they barely knew each other. John then was granted custody of him in 2017 or 2018, and Kate didn't even show up for court. Imagine being a mom on television portraying that you are the best mom ever, the super mom that can manage and raise all these kids for the better part of a decade by yourself as a single mom, and one of your children hasn't spoken to you in years. Well, Colin spoke about his time away, and he said that he was first sent to a facility in 2012 and then sent to another facility where he spent his 13th and 14th birthdays. He described the facility as getting him into a very dark place. But when he was asked about why he was placed there, this is what Colin said.
I came to the conclusion that everybody has their own agenda. My mom had her own agenda. I don't know exactly what that was, but my agenda was to make it out on top of that tough spot.
Mom said, Colin has special needs. There's a fairly fluid diagnosis of what those needs are.
It's unfortunate that that's how my mom, phrased me as a person. I don't see those things, and I don't think anybody else sees those things, but...
Entertainment Tonight has been following this situation with Colin and the Gosselins for years. And during this interview, they actually read a statement that Kate had made about him, describing Colin as special needs, and that it was a struggle that Kate had to deal with on her own, and it was really hard on her and impacted all members of the family. And then they asked Colin, like, how does that make you feel? And he said that he's sorry that his mom sort of reduced him to that language. He also said that she had an agenda, and he doesn't really know what that agenda was. Now, back in 2016, John was going public because he had no clue where Kate had placed Colin, and Kate was appearing publicly without her son, and everyone was like, where is Colin? What happened to Colin? At that time, she told Entertainment Tonight, he needs to learn certain strategies to help him deal with things. The program is teaching him the skills he needs to be the best he can be. We miss him so much, so it's been hard because there is a huge hole in our family without him here. But it comforts us to know where he's where he needs to be right now, and I can feel good about that. So Colin said that this place that she placed him, this institution that she placed him, didn't help him, and he felt like it made things worse. He described getting into a very dark place while he was there, and he was desperate to get out, which entailed trying to find a way to reach out to his father for help. He figured out a way to write a note to his dad, which was then given to a friend to try to pass on to John. And it's heartbreaking to think that publicly Kate was saying he's where he needs to be, everything's fine, he's getting the help he needs, and Colin is sitting here publicly saying, I was worse there than I am now, and it was horrible. And then on top of that, he says that he has no relationship with his mom.
After being there, I didn't have a relationship with her. Even before that, I don't think we had much of a relationship. And I think that just kept tearing it even more down. I was in a dark place mentally. I think being in a place like that does more damage than it helps you. I was hopeless. Figured out how to write to my dad, and that was kind of one thing that kind of helped me mentally figure out that there was a way out of there. And
Colin was adamant that he did not need to be there. And he said that he never should have been there to begin with. One of the suspicions or rumors online was that Colin was not compliant with Kate when it came to filming. He was stubborn, and there was things happening in the home that just weren't being addressed, and she just wanted kids to sort of fall in line, and those that didn't fall in line were not given the attention that they needed. He might have been another speculation that he was sort of problems for filming. We don't know the truth, but Colin speaking this way, it makes it seem like whatever was happening wasn't as bad as she was claiming it to be. And the idea that a child is stuck in this facility and his mom isn't visiting him and he has to write this letter in crayon to get to his dad, it's like his only way out. It's heartbreaking. And meanwhile, she's out on reality television making all these things, acting like everything's fine. And she hasn't seen him. She's not visiting him. It's like she just wanted him away, and that was it. And the sad thing is that he said they didn't really have a relationship even before he went, and they don't have one now. And even if he saw her today, he said, if we met one day, I would hope you see that I'm not those things, meaning special needs and difficult. I can't imagine the level of damage that would do to someone and their psyche and their emotional well-being. It would be really, really hard to recover from that. And it sounds like he's doing his best to get onto the other side of that, but it hasn't helped that his estrangement with his family isn't just extended to his mom, but also to his siblings. And so Colin hasn't seen any of the sextuplets other than Hannah, and he said 5 or 6 years. So imagine you're 18 years old and you haven't seen your siblings. You were put away when you were 12. I think I said 2012 earlier. I meant that he was 12 when this happened. So he was 12 years old, 13, 14. He hasn't seen his siblings since then. And he hasn't talked to his mom in that time either. What kind of mother gives up on their child that way? It's actually kind of jarring.
It's unfortunate that we didn't have a relationship. I think every son wants to have a relationship with their mom, but I'm doing very well. No, I have not spoken with my siblings in probably like 5 or 6 years now. I love them very much, and you know, kind of how I see it is without parents involved, it's just me and them. And
So Colin broke down, and they had to stop the interview when he was talking about his siblings because he hasn't seen them in such a long time, and he said that he loves them and he wishes so much that they could actually get together and see each other without the parents being a factor. They are siblings, the parents are the parents, and he just wants to see them. He said that he hasn't reached out to them because he's wanted to give them the space to come to him. And he hopes one day that they'll be able to have a relationship. He said he even hopes that one day he'll have a relationship with his mom. You know, he could have said a lot of really nasty things about his mom and everything that happened. I mean, the fact that she didn't even show up for his court date for custody. And he didn't. He didn't disparage her. He really was very measured. And when they asked him what the biggest misconception about him is that he said that he's incapable or that he can't get over what happened to him. And he insists that he's getting through everything and he's definitely not incapable. In fact, he's working full-time and going to high school. I believe he's a year behind. His other siblings graduated, but he's graduating this year. I'm assuming he was behind due to his time away. And his goal, he said, is to hopefully join the Marine Corps. And I was sharing that on my Instagram, and so many people were like, thought he would be great and he would have an instant bond and a full family in the Marines. They talked about a car accident that he had. It was a couple months ago, and he totaled his car and it was upside down, which he said was really hard because he's working full time and going to high school, and he fell asleep behind the wheel. And when they asked him about reality television and how he thinks the family managed the show and whether or not it ruined the family, he did speak very candidly, and he thought that the marriage between his mom and dad may not have unraveled the way it did had they not been on reality television. He thinks that John and Kate would still be together if it were not for reality television. I'm not sure if I think that's the case. I think John, it might have amplified or sped it along, but I think that there's only so much John could have probably taken from Kate. She had a very demeaning attitude towards him and wasn't very kind to him. I think it would be hard for anyone to be in a relationship with Kate. That's just my opinion. But when he talked about reality television, this is what he said.
The cameras, there's always cameras there. They're always on you.
Colin is stubborn.
If they had the capability of co-parenting, that would be nice. You know, they don't need to be best friends, but it would have been nice if they could be adults about it. You know, I think the pressure of being in front of the whole world and, you know, every mistake you make is out there.
So John and Kate plus 8 basically ruined your family.
I think so, in my opinion.
Back when John and Kate plus 8 was on television, reality TV was in its real infancy. There wasn't as many network family shows, and this show in particular was TLC's biggest show, probably in history. When they got divorced, over 10 million people tuned in to watch their announcement. And Colin thinks that being under the microscope and all of their mistakes being amplified and having to live such a public life while not having enough time to be private was a factor in the breakdown of the family. This was a family that, in the time that TLC was filming, they were filming every single day. It's not the way that reality television is done today. They had cameras installed all over the house. John had mentioned in one of his interviews that there was a month that filming was every day but 1 or 2 in a month of February. So they had cameras in their faces every day. There was no time for them as a family. John's infidelity was the excuse for the divorce, which was given by Kate, and he denies that he was ever unfaithful. And he insists that she was the one that made the decision to pull the plug on their marriage, not him. And Colin says that without the show, his family would be intact, and it destroyed the family. It's really sad when you think about when we tune into these shows. Like right now, we're talking about sister wives and this huge divorce that's playing out before us, and there's children that are involved. And we think, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. When Kate and John got divorced, John did not want the kids on the show. They didn't do any filming. He didn't want any of that to be publicized. And he didn't want his children to have the ability to go back in time and see that pain of a very painful time in their family. And TLC has done a lot to exploit families over the years, and yet families willingly sign up for it because they get paid so handsomely, not only in the money from the networks, but in opportunities like with brand sponsorships and with, book deals and speaking engagements. And the money can become a huge factor in families staying on, because they end up giving up their careers and then they have to maintain their lifestyle. And so the family becomes a business instead of a family. I think there is something to be said that when a family becomes a business and it's no longer a family, there is going to be a breakdown. And I agree that it probably played a huge role in the fracture of their family. I also think Kate's narcissism, I believe she's narcissistic at least, played another key role in her wanting to put the needs of the children, her quest for fame and money ahead of the family. John took a huge step back, hasn't been on reality television, hasn't done much of anything, and really didn't want the kids on TV at all. He said once they turned 18, they could do whatever they want. If they want to do reality television, if they want to do interviews. And now he's allowed Hannah and Colin to speak. Both of them miss their siblings, both of them miss their mom, and both of them are seemingly alienated from Kate. It reminds me a lot of how Jim Bob Duggar has alienated a lot of the kids from Jill. It reminds me about how Cody Brown is alienating people from anyone that doesn't agree with him gets alienated from him. It reminds me a lot of what's happening with the Roloff family right now, with the family completely falling apart. So many families become like collateral damage, as Robin Brown would say, to the machine that is TLC. And sadly for Colin, he was forced into a facility that he says he never should have been. Kate has not responded yet to any of these claims, and I really don't know how she would, because this is his truth. I'll be interested to see if he goes on to share more. He's very brave, incredibly brave to share his story, and I'm so glad to see him doing so well. And I hope that he continues to thrive, and I hope he meets his goal of becoming a Marine. They would be so lucky to have him. Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.